Hello there, welcome to the NeuroVerse. My name's Luke, and this is my story.
Hello there, and welcome to the NeuroVerse. I'm Matthew, and we're joined today by Luke. And we're going to talk about Luke's story. So, hopefully, this story should help resonate with you. If it does, amazing. If not, no worries. And please, if it does resonate with you, feel free to comment down below. Please like, please subscribe. We are a new channel, and our aim is to try and make sure that people don't feel alone by sharing our stories. So, Luke.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, bit weird. I know. We play online with each other as well. It's a bit weird that we're doing this face to face in front of a camera as well. But yeah, so we'll just dive straight in. So, tell us a bit about you, and how do we know each other?
So, I'm Luke, as we've alluded to on several occasions now already.
And the intro.
Yes, absolutely. I've known you for 16 years now? About 16 years or so?
16 glorious years.
16 glorious years that I've been graceful to say you're part of my world. So that's very kind of, yeah. In fact, it's flown by as well, but in those 16 years, a lot's happened, I think. Our lives are very different to where we were maybe at that time for lots of different reasons. And from my point of view, I've kind of worked alongside you, obviously.
Yeah.
Been at your wedding, kind of seen your son grow up, and now kind of you're going to be my best man at my upcoming wedding. So, yeah, it's been a journey.
It has been. Let's hope that our journey continues after my speech.
Yes, that is the big.
I hope that continues.
That is the big question for everyone.
Yeah. Will I be invited to any more family things? I don't know.
So yeah, and I've obviously been kind of alongside as you've had your own discovery in your journey with your neurodiversity as well. And from my perspective, I've had a lot of different kind of experiences from a personal life, professional life, and people around me in various different capacities have had their challenges and neurodiversities in various different capacities. So yeah.
Okay, so that very lovely leads us on to what I was about to say next, which is so tell us then, what are your experiences with neurodiverse conditions?
So I think I've had experiences in different areas. So family members and dealing with the challenges of their neurodiversities and understanding them, not only understanding how to support them, but understanding where they're coming from and how they kind of managed their challenges in life, and also from a professional capacity with people that I've worked with. Part of my university studies were focusing on those with special educational needs as well.
Okay.
With computing. So my background is in computing, and my dissertation focused on how computing can benefit those with special educational needs, which includes various different neurodiversities. Yeah, and from my own point of view, I'm not neurodiverse as far as I'm aware. I've never been diagnosed with anything, but I've spent a lot of time, like I said, around people that have. I don't know. I don't like to use the word challenges, but I suppose they are challenges because
they are.
Yeah, because it's a big understanding from someone who is neurotypical to be able to associate and understand with anyone that has those neurodiversities, I suppose.
Yeah, and it is difficult because every neurodiverse condition has their challenges, and it's wrong for people to try to immediately go, no, they don't. They just need to be treated like everyone else. They should be treated like everyone else because everyone's different.
Yeah.
Two neurotypical people are different, so why would you treat them exactly the same? You wouldn't. But there are challenges that shouldn't be ignored.
Yeah.
And what type of challenges have you seen differently then from your because the way in which you probably treat people in your personal life that have that are neurodiverse and have their challenges, I would assume would be different to how you treat people in work that have their challenges. Because being neurodiverse myself, when I'm in work, I have to wear a number of different hats, and I've also got to put on my be professional, don't say things that's going to get you sacked hat. So so they were. I would assume to some point they're already masking. So when they present their challenges, how differently do you kind of deal with that compared to your personal ones?
That's a good question. It's interesting because I suppose you've almost got that separation between your personal life and your work life, or most people have, and I think I try and keep that distinction. And you're always going to treat people differently in those two different environments anyway. Your personal life, you've got a closer association to people, and you've got obviously there's people that you love around you, and you spend more time with them. Therefore, you're going to give them more attention and care, and especially with any neurodiverse conditions, I suppose, from my point of view, there's a greater understanding of how it affects them because of the amount of time that you do spend with them.
Yeah.
And that you can understand them better as a person, or at least understand them as much as you think that you can do. I think I'm never going to fully understand how people feel, and I'm fully open to that. I'm more than aware that I'm never going to fully understand exactly what someone's going through and how they manage their neurodiversities. But from a professional capacity, like you said, you've also got to keep in mind that people are in the workplace, and that presents its own challenges. How people deal with technology around them, how people deal with their job, how people deal with information and people. There's all these different kind of categories, and there's a level of, where I find there's a level of, not hesitancy, but almost like you have to be a bit more careful because of those extra additional unknowns that could affect people in different ways. And like I think you mentioned earlier on, precisely that neurodiverse conditions aren't just one set rule for everyone. People have their own challenges and their own different ways that you need to kind of come up against and learn to manage and support as much as you can.
Yeah, because two people could have autism, but the way they present could be completely different and have different
wildly
triggers.
Different. Yeah.
So going what you said then about kind of because you understand people more in your personal life because they're around you. Do you think there's more of a acceptance and more patience and tolerance than you have for people in your personal life versus potentially people in professional life, because there's an expectation you're in work, you should be professional anyway, and all the other bits and pieces. So there's potentially less of a not patience is the wrong word, but because you're in a work environment, you're expecting people to be able to behave and conduct themselves in a certain way regardless. So there's a little bit more,
in a sense, but the workplace brings its own stresses anyway.
It does.
That creates a different atmosphere to someone that you might have someone your family that's neurodiverse, and the environment that you have to work with them and help them and support them is completely different to a workplace, which has its own wider stresses. That can put you in a completely different environment. And I think you're right. Patience is probably not the right word, but I think it's a more complex environment to support in. I think it's a better way that I'd say, or at least I feel like it is because of that. Because like you said, it can be a minefield for people because you don't know what could affect someone else, regardless of their diagnosis, completely differently.
Yeah, and I know that this is your story, but I know that kind of in different work environments and different organizations and different things that I've been kind of exposed to as well in the past, that there are some people that are less tolerant partly because of, while you're in work, you're just expected to kind of get on with it regardless of what's going on. And that's for everyone, neurotypical or neurodivergent. It's just because you're in work, crack on. I think sometimes places of work forget that they're human beings outside of all that, and they've got their own pressures.
Absolutely.
Add in neurodiverse conditions, you've then got another layer of complexity and kind of it's.
But from my perspective, as you know, I work in computing, so
just switching stuff off and on.
Yeah, just turn it off and on. It's as simple as that, really. I don't know why I went to uni, quite frankly.
Well, I could have told you that.
I know, yeah. But unfortunately for me, there is a bit more complexity to that, sadly.
You got to find the plug.
Oh, I know, and then just
switch the wrong plug off.
Yeah, and then sometimes you just go, oh, do you know what? I've tried it twice. Let's just give it up for the day. But working in computing, I think it's a really good example of what you're saying, because computers terrify me in a way, and I've dealt with them professionally for 20 years, um, in some capacity, as well as grown up. Obviously, we're of a generation where we literally grew up with computers in some capacity, whether it be games that we play, whether it be laptops, tablets, etc. And they're getting more and more and more. Uh, it puts more risks to people generally, and I think that kind of uncertainty with, you know, people with dyslexia or dyspraxia or other kind of conditions, a computer screen can be just a horrible experience if you've not got the setup that can support you. And I know we obviously, my fiance is dyslexic, and I know for a fact that she struggles in her professional capacity for that, and how screens can just be, can cause a lot of confusion. And I've heard from my own experiences working in IT support over the years, or working as a developer, or working as on apps or stuff like that, that these kind of things, it's, what am I trying to say? There's ultimately, it's empathy that it comes down to, because these people can be affected in so many different ways, and I've seen people get frustrated and upset, and seen people really stressed out and distressed by just trying to work, just trying to be in that environment. And it can be down to the neurodiversities, because it can affect people in different ways, that we've already said. But ultimately, the one thing that you just need to have in those situations, or the one that I approach it in my life, is just be empathetic to it, support. Just what can you do to understand where they're coming from, and what can you do to support them as much as you can. Because like you said, I'm not going to fully understand exactly how it is, but the best that I can do from my point of view is sit and understand to the best of my ability to support them and be empathetic to their challenges. So that's how I've kind of viewed it from a professional perspective over the years, anyway. And then from a personal perspective, like you said, I've had family members around me that have had their own challenges and neurodiversities, and you learn as a person. You learn how to try and manage it to the best of your ability, even if it's not necessarily the right way. You might think it's the right way, but you learn from the times that you get it wrong, just how to re-manage it for the next time it happens. And life is a learning experience in that way, I think, a little bit. And that's one of the challenges that I've had from a personal perspective, is when those situations come up, if I've not got something right, what do I learn from it for the next time it potentially happens, to help support that neurodiverse person?
Yeah, I mean, life generally is just a massive game of trial and error. Stakes are slightly higher when you've got people with neurodiverse. It's just so when you get it wrong, you know you've got it wrong.
That's precisely it, and that's the kind of that's a learning moment, and I think that's one of the things that I've picked up over the years, to try and help be more empathetic. That when I do get it wrong, and you get it wrong, you're like, right, okay, I learned from that. Otherwise, where are we ever going to get to a society where people just don't learn from those situations?
Yeah. And people shouldn't be chastised for making the wrong decision or doing something wrong either, because that's how people learn, they grow, and understand other people as well. You know, I can't stand this cancel culture and all that stuff, but people get things wrong. It is what it is.
Yeah.
People are human. So you might be slightly. So with you then, so because you've been kind of brought up unknowingly, and in some cases then knowingly, in a neurodiverse situation throughout your personal and then professional and everything else, has there been anything that, as you've learned more, has challenged or changed your perception of what you thought of when it comes to neurodiverse conditions?
In terms of the individuals, or just as a wider understanding of neurodiversity?
Wider. So as an example, there might be some people that the moment a diagnosis is presented, they go on, they perceive to be helpful, and saying, well, people can't do this, they can't do this, they can't do this. I don't want to expose them to this because it might be too overwhelming, rather than trying to work with the person and then being surprised by what they can accomplish.
Yeah, it's a weird one, because it doesn't really, my perception of how people are in terms of if they're neurodiverse or not, doesn't really matter. And it sounds, I'm not trying to make that sound quite ignorant, because it obviously does matter, because they've got their own requirements and they need to support that, and you will support that when you kind of get that. But from a general level of trying to view them as a person, they're still the same person that I would look at and see and talk
Yeah.
to before that, having that knowledge. And if anything, it gives more understanding to know what they can achieve based on what limitations they might have following finding out. Um, but it doesn't really change how you view a person, in my opinion, or it shouldn't really change them from a general level. It should just be that what can you do to better support them if they need that support. It might be that people have new diversities. I feel that, or at least in my experiences, when people have mentioned that they've got them, it's more a case of, like I said earlier on, if there's anything that needs to support them, how can I manage that to support them? But I'm not going to put myself that on them if it comes across as patronising
Yeah.
or condescending, because it's very, very easy, and I think that you kind of alluded to it, it's very, very easy for people to completely change their perception of someone and say, right, well, let's put them in a box now because
Yes.
they're neurodiverse, they're autistic, or they're on the spectrum or something, therefore they must be put here in this box because there's only to do. And I don't think that's particularly very fair. And I don't think that's ever been fair. It's not a case of putting someone in a box. It's a case of making the strengths of what their limitations are and showing what they can achieve because of it. Um, and I can only speak from, again, I'm not neurodiverse to the best of my knowledge, at least from, I've never been diagnosed with anything.
Yeah.
So, but so I can only sit outside the kind of fence, I suppose, looking in. But I don't feel that people should be kind of told what not to do, what they can and can't do. It's up to them. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does, and I wish there was more people like that.
If life would be a lot nicer, quite
It,
frankly.
it would if people just treated people as humans rather than a bunch of labels and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding and getting a diagnosis isn't to live with a label; it's to help you understand you and what you need to thrive.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you have 50 million years worth of experience. You're not that old. You have a lot of experience in kind of in knowing what's in your personal life and professional life.
Mm-hmm.
If you could characterize your experiences in a few words, what would they be?
Empathy is the key one for me because I think empathy is everything in a way. You have to be empathetic to understand someone. You have to allow that empathy to give them the right, to allow you to go down that path of not, like you said, not treating them as a human. It's a simple nature. So empathy is definitely a key one for me. A few other words. Patience. I think patience is another word I would have said, and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean it in the sense of allowing, having the patience to allow people with neurodiversities to have the space to express themselves or be the person that they are rather than pushing them to do anything beyond they should. And it comes back to what I was saying from my professional capacity. You have to have patience to allow people in situations that I've had to deal with to be comfortable in what they're doing, be comfortable in how their situation has become from their environment, and it's not something that you can push. So patience is a key word for me that comes back to allow someone to have that space. And I think the other one that comes to mind is probably supporting your friends, supporting your family. What can I do as someone who's not neurodiverse to offer that support where it's needed? And like I said then, not be condescending, not be patronising, treat them as a human being, but give them the support that they need to do what they need to do, whether that be something at home, whether that be something in the workplace, whether that be outside somewhere. It could be an environment where they can't deal with a lot of people. What can you do to make that situation better? So, yeah, those are three ones that come to mind immediately. There's obvious ones as well that I think other people would probably say there are challenges and stuff like that. But those are the three kind of key ones that immediately come to my mind. Yeah.
Okay. We'll explore those in a little bit more detail in a future episodes.
Sounds good.
So I want to say thank you very much for taking your time to come and do this, Luke.
All right.
I appreciate talking about this type of thing. May not be massively comfortable as well, knowing you've got personal ties.
Well, it shouldn't, in a way, sometimes maybe it shouldn't be.
Yeah, we should be comfortable in the uncomfortable. And so again, I want to say thank you very much. Please like, subscribe, hit the bell icon to get notified when future uploads get uploaded. Yeah. So, yeah, as you can see, very, very new to this, but we're just trying to do some good and try to kind of get some exposure out there so people don't feel alone. So, again, thank you very much, Luke. Thank you very much for those who've been watching, and we'll see you in a future episode.
Yeah.
Cheers. Thanks.